Hey, vinyl community. I am here once again with my friends Aaron, Mutha Alamare, Chris Propfe, and JC from the Flip Side Vinyl. We are getting together once again. This time we're going to talk about an old format, makes us feel a little bit older than we already are, cassettes. So this is going to be an episode dedicated solely to cassettes. And what we've done is we've each chosen 10 cassettes, and we've chosen those cassettes based on a theme that we each have chosen. So what I thought we would start doing is just kind of going around and explaining what the theme is that we've chosen for the 10 cassettes. And then we'll just each get into our 10 cassettes and have a general good time reminiscing about good old cassettes. So Aaron, do you want to start off with your theme that you've chosen?
Well, I chose 10 cassettes that were never released on vinyl. They have CD releases, but these 10 I chose don't have a vinyl release, and I really want all of them on vinyl because they're some of my favorites of all time. It's some of the bands you'll know, some you won't, but they're all really great records, and I really need them on vinyl. So that's why I wanted to show them.
Okay, great. And Josh, what do you got?
Well, I'd first like to say that Aaron had to choose that theme because he owns every record known to man. So it was impossible for him to choose any other theme. But my theme is going to be 10 cassettes that I wish I could find on vinyl. All of them but one have a vinyl pressing. Majority of them are extremely rare pressings, and they might have only been pressed once. So that's it.
Cool. Chris?
Yeah, I pretty much have the same theme. I'm going with cassettes that I do not have on vinyl. Now, the ones I'm going to show, like Josh was saying, they do have, some of these have vinyl pressings, but a couple of them that I'm going to show were only available on cassette. So.
Very good. Well, the cassettes I'm going to show, I picked 10 cassettes that I have an emotional connection to. They're cassettes that I will never part with. I don't care if I have them on vinyl, if I have multiple CD copies, I am always going to keep these cassette versions because they definitely mean something to me. So those will be the 10 that I have chosen. So Aaron, do you want to go through your 10 cassettes and we'll take turns?
Oh, sure. Sure. Okay, well, first up, now of course, I picked more than 10, but I'll just stick to 10. So I had a tie for number 10.
True to form.
And, I couldn't decide. So here's my 11. I'll just show it and we'll talk about it. This was my 11, Bullet Boy Zaza. Love that one, but I won't talk about that one. But my number 10 is this one here, Slaughter, Fear No Evil, the third Slaughter album. And it's printed upside down for some reason. But this is actually my favorite Slaughter album here. I like this one the best. It's never released on vinyl. You can get the CD or the cassette. And it's, like I said, so it was released on May 2nd, 1995. And they were going through a bunch of turmoil at this point. They had some like personal conflicts. And but this is just an amazing record. The song Searchin', I believe there was a video for that, and that's one of my favorite Slaughter songs. It doesn't even really sound like Slaughter. He sings different. I think he had surgery on his vocal cords before they did this album. And so, but he sounds great on it. But that one, he just has a different tone, and it's really cool. But every song in this is really great. It's, yeah. If I can read it, my eyes are getting bad. Let the Good Times Roll is a great one.
Why is that one not on? Why is that one not on vinyl? Is it just because?
Well, it was released in 1995.
Okay.
So it's just in the era where they weren't really making vinyl, and at this point, the grunge had kind of taken over, and they didn't have big sales on this album. And but I've always thought it was their best album, and I love their first two, Wildlife and Self-Titled. But there's a song on here called Yesterday's Gone that's amazing. Out of My Head's a real good rocker, but this is a really great album. And we used to listen to this partying all the time, me and my friends, because I had a friend whose girlfriend's favorite band was Slaughter, so we were always listening to them. So, but that's you have any questions about it? Sorry.
Yeah. I love Slaughter.
Who's Slaughter?
Well, it's Mark Slaughter.
Wait, are we going through all of our 10 cassettes, or are we going one by one?
Well, I think you can go through all of yours, Aaron. Since you've got one theme, you may as well go through the rest of them.
Okay, if you want, but that's cool.
Yeah, no, that's cool. We can do that.
And
Okay.
Mark Slaughter sang for Vinnie Vincent
Yes, Minutemen on the second record.
on the second record.
Yeah, on All Systems Go. And Dana Strum as well, the bass player from
Yep.
Vinnie Vincent Invasion, was a Slaughter bass player, and I had Tim Kelly on the guitar, who was actually hit by a semi or something crossing the street and died like after that record.
Crazy.
And yeah, so that was too bad. I saw them live and they're really good live too. So my next one up here, it was from 1992. This is Sleazebees with Power Tool, the follow-up to Screwed, Blued, and Tattooed. And this album is just as good or better than that one. I really love this one. Yeah, it's got some great stuff on here. And they're from Holland. Really great band. Just great sleaze rock, whatever you want to call it. They have a really good ballad on here called what's it called? I'm going blind here. I Don't Want to Live Without You. Really killer song if you like balladly type ones. There's some good rockers on here too, though. It's a good rocking album. If you like Screwed, Blued, and Tattooed, you'd like this one too. It's really good, and they need to put a vinyl release out for that.
And they need to reissue Screwed, Blued, and Tattooed because that's a great album that most people haven't heard.
Yeah, I've got that one, but I'm looking for the other. Yeah, Screwed, Blued, and Tattooed is excellent. It's a really good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have that on CD.
Are all these on CD? Can you get all these cassettes on CD?
I'm pretty sure. Maybe there might be a couple you can't, but I'm pretty sure you can get. There's one coming up that maybe you can't. No, I've seen that on CD, so I think you can. Yes.
Okay.
So next up, my favorite EP of all time. It's Kick Tracy with Field Trip. They only had one full-length album and then this. Their full-length album was called No Rules. Really good record, but this is better. It's an EP, and it kind of combines the hair metal type sound with some psychedelia, with some folk a little bit, with some this heavier stuff, a little bit of grunge mixed in. And the songs on this are just amazing. It's like I said, it's my favorite EP ever. Out of My Head, it starts with is killer. In Trance was a video, but the song Field Trip is like just one of those great songs. When you hear it, it's just has so much emotion in it. It's like a good driving song. And then they got Drop in the Ocean, really trippy song. And Blood Brother is just infectious. Amazing album. And I really wish they'd put this out. And the singer, Steven Sharow, was a really good singer. And actually he was up for, when Motley Crue was getting a new singer, he was like, I think their second choice after John Corabi for that record. He almost got the gig with Motley Crue, but John Corabi beat him out. But I remember I was like, oh, that'd be cool. But he didn't get it. So.
Did you say In Trance? Is that the Scorpions cover?
Oh no, it's totally different.
Okay.
It's way different. It's theirs. But this is if you ever see this on CD or anything, get it. It's excellent. It's like I said, my favorite EP out of anything.
Nice.
And I just wish they'd put it on vinyl.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like I'm talking a lot here.
Oh,
Go for it, dude.
Okay, next up I've got this one. This is Tough with Fist First. And this is their follow-up to what's it called? I forgot the name. I'm looking for the album. Oh, What Comes Around Goes Around. And this album is a little heavier. It actually sounds like it would be their album before that because it's a little more raw, a little more heavy. And it's if you know Tough, they're kind of like a heavier version of Poison, but they got more grit to them. That kind of same kind of sound, but they were really good live. I saw them too. And there's the cassette. But this starts out with the Tied to the Bells, just an amazing rocking song. It's got a song called In Dogs We Trust. It's great. Better Off Dead. And you'd probably like this, Chris. They have a cover version of 16 Tons on this, like a heavy version.
Love that song.
Yeah, it's really cool. So it sounds killer too. The singer Stevie Rochelle is really good. Very underrated band. They just came out a little too late to be real popular, but they were great live too. And this is a great album that's never had a vinyl release.
Yes.
And then next up, I got Every Mother's Nightmare, Wake Up Screaming.
Nice.
Really
I have
good
that on
album.
cassette too. Yeah.
You do? Yeah, this is a great one. I love Every Miller's Nightmare. Their first one's one of my grails. I don't have it. There's an album I don't have. But this one here is just as good as their first album. It's just amazing. You know, House of Pain, Already Gone. They do a version of Tobacco Road. Slip and Fall is one of my favorites on here.
Is House of Pain the Van Halen cover? Or?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, it's different. Yeah, a lot of the bands have the same titles. Yeah. Where's that? Yeah, but this is just I really like this album. And they're a really great underrated band as well. And there goes, I kind of like these cassettes. They did this. I mean, when I was listening to these back in the 80s and 90s, I could read all this stuff easy.
Oh, yeah.
Now it's
I know. It's
my class there.
then you look again, you try to read the lyrics. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I know. I can barely read the songs on the cassette now. And there's the first album there. But yeah, that's just a great band. Great, like another sleaze metal. That's my main, my main thing I like. So it's a really good one here. And up next, I got a really different one. And this is a proto grunge or proto. Is that before?
Yeah.
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 So this band was out the same time as like Green River and the Melvins and the Soundgarden, and this is Malfunction.
Nice.
And that's Andrew Wood, who was in Mother Love Bone.
Yeah.
This is the band before Mother Love Bone with him and his brother. It's called Malfunction: Return to Olympus, and it's a really crazy record. I really love this. I'm a huge Mother Love Bone fan, so when I saw this and it came out in '95, and Jeff Ament from Pearl Jam actually put this together after, a few years after he died and released this. And it's got some great stuff. It starts out with Enter Landrew. The last song is Exit Landrew, because he's called himself the love child or whatever. Landrew is his name. And they do a cover of Wang Dang Sweet Poontang on here, Ted Nugent song.
Okay.
That's killer.
But it's a really great early grunge. You can find this on CD. I've seen one of my friends has it. But it's really hard to even find this, even on cassette or CD now, I believe. It's a pretty rare
I was
one.
going to say, that's got to be very rare.
Yeah, but I was a huge grunge fan. So as soon as I saw this, I picked it up instantly. And there's what it looks like there. But it's really good. It's not as good as Mother Love Bone, but they're one of my favorite bands ever. So.
Aaron, I love what you just said, being a grunge fan, because I feel like I was a grunge fan and also a fan of like sleaze rock and heavy metal and all that. And people think that there was this divide, that all the kids stopped listening to rock and metal and just switched to grunge. And that's not how I saw it. There were definitely a majority of people that still liked both. It was the record companies that decided not to promote the hard rock bands anymore. That's kind of how I feel. Now, I do think that some of the bands like Poison tried to change their style drastically to fit in, and then at that point they look like posers, and I think that really hurt them, and that's why you see them now touring, but they're touring playing their old shit, because they realized that they probably should have just stuck with what they were going with.
Well, and grunge wasn't called grunge when it first came out. The term grunge wasn't used. It was just hard rock. I remember even when Nevermind came out, we didn't call it, there's a new grunge album from Nevermind. It was just, here's this hard rock, album. I think it was probably, only after, the whole Seattle scene started to happen that they actually put a label on it. But, the first couple years, I don't think there was even a term grunge thrown around there.
It was just other great music I liked.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, the other thing is, look at Alice in Chains' first album, Facelift. I know Aaron really likes that. It's basically a hard rock album. You know what I mean? So that first song has got a lot of metal sound to it.
Yep. Yeah. And I think grunge really started the term. I remember it really taking hold after Pearl Jam 10. And then they had that look with the flannel and all that. And I think that's when it really started being called grunge. To me, it seemed like, even though I was into that music way before that, it was a different branch of heavy metal to me.
And if you go listen, guys, if you get a chance, go listen to the live album by Neil Young, Weld, which came out years before Nevermind. That is the prototypical grunge album. Like, I feel like Neil Young with that Ragged Glory album and that tour with the heavy distortion, and he was rocking flannel back then, but like, it is such a grunge album that, that song Sedan Delivery, Soundgarden, I love Soundgarden, but they kind of ripped off that song. Like that song, it it's just such a Soundgarden song. It's go listen to it.
You're right about Neil Young, though. He did dabble in sound, but I'm going to bring it back to SST, though, because Soundgarden released their first EP on SST. And also the Screaming Trees started. And they were, I don't know what year they came out. I want to say they were like pre-Nirvana, though. And Nirvana says, didn't Nirvana get a lot of their sound from the Pixies, I want to say?
Yep, they did.
Which is a Boston band. And Mark Flanagan from the Screaming Trees is absolutely amazing, and his solo albums are amazing. Go check all those out, like Whiskey and the Holy Ghost or something. That album just kills. It's awesome.
All roads lead to SST. I'm just going to let you know.
Yeah. I really like his Queens of the Stone Age as well, Mark Flanagan.
Oh yeah.
The record store near my house when I was growing up, and we were talking like 89 or 90. It was probably 90 or 91. We went in there one day and they were giving away these cassettes. And on one side of the cassette, they had Alive by Pearl Jam. And this was before anybody had ever heard of Pearl Jam in my area anyway. And on the B side, they had I've Got a Feeling, their cover of the Beatles.
Yep.
Song. They were like giving it away as like a promotion. I don't know, the record company had just dumped a bunch of these singles out there, and I remember thinking, who is this Pearl Jam? Like, I'd never heard anything like that before, but it's so cool. They covered the Beatles on the B side, and then like a few months later, like Pearl Jam blew up, and it was all Alive and Jeremy and Even Flow and all those songs, and I was like, oh damn, I wish I'd held on to that cassette that I had, because now I'm sure it'd be worth a fortune. But
I like Versus better than 10.
Versus is my favorite.
Me too.
Mm-hmm. Always been my favorite of theirs.
I also like No Code. No Code is really good as well.
That's a good one too.
Yeah.
I like Vitology too. I know Vitology had some really commercial songs, but it has some really crazy freaking songs on there too. Like that song Corduroy is just absolutely amazing.
And is that the album that Spin the Black Circle is on?
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
That's a killer track.
Yeah.
It's the only one
we are totally geeking out right now.
I know.
We're like, dude, you remember that? That song "Spin the Black Circle"? We're all like, yeah.
Spin.
Now, meanwhile, you say that to somebody like out in the street, like, what? What are you talking about? So
we'll see. Now, Chris Aaron is going to get up and he's going to show you the vinyl that he has of Vitology with the Japanese.
Exactly. This one comes from Eddie Vedder's house.
Right.
He gifted it to me.
This one has a misprint on the cover, and
exactly.
I always liked Mother Love Bone better than them. I was into Mother Love Bone way before before Pearl Jam was invented, so I knew them as Mookie Blaylock.
There's
All right,
Temple of the Dog too.
Oh yeah,
Temple of the Dog.
Yeah. So next up, this one here has some grunge influence in it. This is Circus of Power, Magic and Madness. It's my favorite Circus of Power. I love this record. And they went for a more grunge sound. It's like a biker metal band, but they went to a grunge level on this. But they're one of the ones that did it right, and it sounds so good. This first song, Swamp Devil, is just this. It's a killer. It was 1993, but Swamp Devil is just a sludgy, great grunge, great grunge metal song. And Jerry Cantrell actually plays guitar and sings on one song called Heaven and Hell, and it's great. It could have been an Alice in Chains song from the first couple records. It's that good. And they also have Ian Astbury on a song called Shine. It's really good. Excellent album. This is my favorite by them. I love it. I never get sick of this one. Mama Tequila, great song. Their songs are longer on this, like 5 minutes or more, most of them. And they were kind of shorter songs on their first two albums. But if you know Circus of Power, it's just them, just with a little bit of heavy grunge mix. And a lot of their fans didn't like that, but I loved it. And me and my friends always played this when we were partying. Really great record. Pretty cool cover too.
Yeah, and their fans call themselves Juggalos, right?
I think so.
No, I'm just kidding. That was an Insane Clown Posse. Sorry.
Oh, that's just that. Yeah. I actually played their first record on my Tuesday thing. I showed it. I played it Tuesday. It's really good.
Okay.
This is way better. This album is so good. I love it. That Heaven and Hell, that song with Jerry Cantrell, it's almost like Alice in Chains, because they have the singer him, and he comes in and sings the chorus with them, and He plays guitar on it. Really good song. So
Cool.
that's, yeah. Next up is a band I don't know if you've heard of, but this is one of my favorite albums. And it's a sleaze, kind of a blues hard rock record. And it's called Sister Whiskey, Liquor, and Poker. As in the alcohol and the game.
Oh, okay. My
Sorry.
mind went somewhere else. But
But this album is so good. This is one of my main party records from the, let's see, what year was it? 93. And I've heard it described as like a heavier version of Black Crowes, but I don't really see that because the singing is so different. But there they are. There's the band, Sister Whiskey. And I mean, I've heard this probably 1,000 times. It's that good. It's just every song. Starts with a song called Simple Man, not the Leonard Skinner one, but it's their own song. It's really good. I'd Lie to You for My Love is a hilarious, good rocker. Every song's good on this. Moonshine, Grab a Six Pack and Head for the Hills. Just a great drinking party record. And it's not even very well known. Me and my friends really were into this because it's kind of similar to like Sweet FA, Four Horsemen, kind of that vein, but a little mellower.
are they still around?
Kind of a country rock, blues mixture. You'd probably like it, Chris.
Are they still around, Aaron?
Nice.
No, they only put this record out. It's the only one they ever did.
Okay.
So yeah, and it's so good. I still, when I put it on, it's just like it gets you all pumped up and ready to party, and it's a great record. Love it.
Cool.
So I wasn't sure if you guys had heard of that one or not, but
No, but I
Yeah,
watched
I've
it.
never heard of them.
yeah, Sister Whiskey. That was my number 3. So
Nice.
I'm up to my number 2 now. And this band came out of the ashes of a band called Hades that were a thrash band. And this is a Nonfiction, In the Know. You ever heard of them?
Yeah, I've heard of Nonfiction, but I never listened to them.
This album is a classic, and it's their second album. I've never heard their first or their third, but this one I've heard a million times. And it's what's his name? There's Alan and Dan. Those two guys were in a band called Hades, thrash band. But this is like a kind of like Trouble, psychedelic, mixed with a little bit of thrash, not really thrash. It's kind of like the like a 90s doom metal. Like it'd be like doom metal if it came out now. That's what they call it. And it's just so good. I was gonna put this on my one of my Tipsy Tuesdays, play it, but I don't know if I can do that with a cassette if people get mad. But it's good enough where I want to play it on one of those. It's
Nice.
It's just, yeah, it's like it's kind of like Trouble, if you know what Trouble sounds like.
Yeah.
But just they have their own thing. It's almost like a progressive psychedelic doom metal, and it's really, really good. Nonfiction, In the Know. My number 2 that I wish was released on vinyl that I have.
That's a fascinating combination of genres right there. You know, progressive, doom, and psychedelic. That combination right there has got me so intrigued already.
And they're from New Jersey.
Okay.
Yeah, but they came out in August 15th, 1992. And my friend Jody, who's a singer of our band, he got me into that, and he loved it, and he played it over and over for me. And I went and got the cassette instantly, just because I heard it so much from him, and I've never stopped listening to it. It's just really good. But my favorite cassette I own, never to be released on vinyl, is this one.
Oh, that's
What is
the
it?
D. Snyder, right?
Widowmaker, Blood and Bullets. This maybe is better than any Twisted Sister album, even. It is so good. I don't know. Maybe Under the Blade is so, I don't know. But this album has Al Pitrelli on guitar, D. Snyder, and it's just amazing. Amazing album. And I was listening to this and How the Gods Kill a lot because they came out right at the same time almost. And they were like my 2 most played albums at that time. Kind of similar. Well, if you can call D. Snyder similar to Danzig, but it was released on July 28th, 1992. And I went to order this a long time ago on vinyl, back about 20 years ago, 25 years ago. And my local record store, I said, I want that on vinyl, order it for me. He said, okay, got it in. Totally different band called Widowmaker from the 70s. It's a really good blues rock band. I ended up liking it. So that was kind of cool to discover them. But this album, I mean, their song "Am I Evil?" It's spelled with an E. Am I Evil? It's weird, and what's if I can read these. But Blood and Bullets, Piston Against the Wind, the title song is amazing. Or Gone Bad, Blue for You, You're a Heartbreaker, Calling for You would be like one of the best Twisted Sister songs. So catchy. The song The Widowmaker. They do the cover of the song Evil. It's actually a cover song. That old blues song. They do it heavy metal style, really cool. But this seriously is one of my top 2 or 3 Dee Snider albums of all time. And they had one other album after this, which I don't have anymore. But this one's my favorite. I love it.
What was the one after that one called? Because I have one of their CDs. I can't remember which one I have.
Standby for Pain.
I think that's the one I have.
That's the second one. This one I think is way better, but I love Standby for Pain. It is a little heavier, but this one's just so catchy and killer and just has a good flow. I love it. Standby for Pain's a really good one too, though. And for a few of the songs here, they wrote, she had a band called Desperado, and he wrote it for Desperado, and they ended up pushing that project to the side and then used those songs for this. There was Am I Evil, Gone Bad, and Calling for You. And those are all great songs.
Very cool. Well, that is a very diverse top 10 there. And I'm not going to tell you how many bands I actually heard of or recognized, but I think those are all great and those are all cool. And I'm glad they're all on CD at least, so they're available if you're not a cassette collector too.
Yeah, any of those. Good.
The floor is yours.
All right. Well, you'll probably recognize at least 70% of my bands, Jeff. So we'll start off with one that I discovered actually this year, but it was an album that came out in 1989, and that is Babylon AD.
That's great.
So this is a hard rock kind of, just kind of like not really glam, more blues rock, 80s band, San Francisco signed by Clive Davis, believe it or not. I think this is a really great album. I found it at Savers for 50 cents. And I think that they're just one of those products of the 80s where, back in the 70s, they would nurture a band, right? Springsteen didn't break to his 3rd album. But in the 80s, if you didn't really break right away, a lot of times they gave up on you. But it's a great album if you can find it. It's extremely hard to find on vinyl. I think it was pressed once. And it goes for a decent amount of money. So hopefully one day I'll walk into Savers and find it. And that's my number 10. My number 9 is one of my favorite guitarists, George Lynch. And this is his solo album called Sacred Groove. I believe it came out in 1993 or 1994. It actually is mostly instrumental music, but Glenn Hughes does sing on a song. And then the singer of Badlands, which you'll have to, my cassette's broken.
Ray Gillen?
Ray Gillen sings on a song too. So yeah, so it is it's not like Dokken. He does different types of music with this. So like there's parts where he does like almost like a Latin guitar and just different landscapes of guitar work. But once again, I don't think it was pressed in the United States on vinyl. I'm pretty sure it was once in Europe. And they never repressed it again, but I love George Lynch. So that is my number 9.
I can't remember my daughter's birthday, but I can remember the lead singer of Badlands.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Well, he's got a sordid legacy.
Yeah.
Now, the next one is for pure nostalgia. When I was a kid, I walked into a record store and I bought this without knowing one song. And it was Atomic Playboys by Stevie Stevens, the guitarist from Billy Idol. No, I loved Billy Idol, but if you look, it's H.R. Geiger artwork or Giger artwork. And, as a kid, I loved Alien. And so I bought this as a blind buy. And when you're a kid and you're like, I was pretty much grew up pretty poor, guys. And I just listened to everything I bought all the way through. You know what I mean? Like, even if it didn't register the first time, I would just keep playing it, because who knows when I'd get another album. It's not the greatest album in the world, but to me, it's got that nostalgia. So I'd love to find it on vinyl.
Well, he did the artwork for Brain Salad Surgery by Emerson, Lake and Palmer. He did that cover. Geiger did.
Also the cover for How the Gods Kill.
Yeah, and did you ever hear the story of what happened with How the Gods Kill when they commissioned the artwork? So
No.
Danzig's got the artwork for the album. He started printing up all these posters and TV and T-shirts and everything. And H.R. Geiger sued him. Said, I
Really?
said you could use it for the album. I never said you could use it for anything else. And yeah, so he had to. If you can find those T-shirts with that artwork, those are pretty rare because he hasn't been able to repress any of the shirts with the Geiger art. So
Cool.
yeah, so if you find it in a thrift store, you could pretty much probably sell for like $300-400. So
Wow.
Nice.
crazy. All right, so the next one is an album that I believe it was pressed once in Europe on vinyl, and that is Stormtroopers of Death live at Budokan. This is not really live in Budokan. It's like live at like somebody's basement. SOD could not sell out Budokan if they gave away tickets for free. Well, they probably could now, but so SOD is a super group with two members of Anthrax, Charlie and Scott, and then the singer of MOD, and then I believe the bassist from Nuclear Assault. And this live album, they actually do a cover of Nirvana's Territorial Pissings. And it's just a really cool and raw, and this is a fantastic live album if you just want a real live album, not something that's been doctored in the studio. You can hear people in the audience. It's hardcore. It's awesome. So
What's funny,
live
because
at Budokan.
it's funny because one of my cassettes is Stormtroopers of Death live at the Hollywood Bowl. So
Love it. I'd buy that album. I'd stand in line for that album record store day overnight and buy one for Aaron. All right, the next one would be Tesla 5-man acoustic jam. We'll probably may never see this on vinyl because I believe the original master tapes burned up in the fire. We might see a repress, but I mean it was released on vinyl. So if you have it, keep it. Don't sell it.
Here comes Aaron with his 5 copies.
Exactly. I'd buy one off him. I'll give you $100, dude. So this had a big hit. Signs was a cover song. They also do Mother's Little Helper, the Rolling Stones cover. They do We Can Work It Out, the Beatles cover. To me, Tesla is one of those bands that gets looped into the hair metal just because that was the era that they came out. But they're just a blues rock, American rock band. And I bought this cassette when I was a kid, and my father would always say, "Oh, put on that Tesla," because my dad was a big Beatles fan, the Stones fan. So it was something that we could listen to together when we were driving around. So it's got that sentimental value to me of like thinking about my father, thinking about cruising around with him, listening to it. But yeah, I mean, I love it. And I know Aaron's got it on vinyl because he's the man.
I love it. Trucking's good on it too.
Oh, Truckin' is great on it. If you haven't heard it, guys, anybody out there watching us, go listen to it. You'll love it. So now I'm down to number 5, which is one I've shown on my channel quite a bit, or I've talked about, and that is Rat Detonator. A lot of people dislike this album because essentially what Rat was kind of falling apart at the seams in the sense of trying to find direction within the band. There was a lot of drug use and infighting. So they went out and got, I'm trying to think of his name, the guy that wrote the Bon Jovi hits, all the big Bon Jovi songs. What's his name? Give me 1 second. He wrote
Not Desmond
You Give Love a
Child.
Bad Name. Desmond Child. So Desmond Child is someone that they would send in to help artists write hits. He helped Aerosmith. He helped Bon Jovi. A lot of the big hits in the 80s were written by Desmond Child. So this one is pretty much a Desmond Child album sung by Rat. It's got Shame, 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 Loving You's a Dirty Job, All or Nothing. Me personally, I always liked Rat. I know people give him a hard time, but Rat was one of the first bands I loved. I turned on MTV and I saw Round and Round. It's fantastic.
Dude, Dancing Undercover is killer record.
I love all
Absolutely.
Child didn't Desmond Child do Kiss? Didn't he do some
Mhm.
Yep.
Kiss also? Okay.
He did a lot of Kiss songs. I mean, the guy's a genius, and he's in the Songwriters Hall of Fame. Some people, they knock people like that, and I get it. Like when Aerosmith did I Don't Want to Miss a Thing, everybody wanted to like kind of lose their lunch, right? But how many bullets do you have in the gun? That's why I look at it. Like there's artists like Billy Joel and Paul McCartney that just can keep on doing it. They just keep writing these songs, and you say, well, that's amazing that you can continue to write songs. And Billy Joel eventually reached a point where he said, I'm not going to do it anymore. He probably realized like there's nothing I can do that's going to live up to the legacy that I've already cemented, right? And when you run out of bullets, a lot of times these bands go and get someone like Desmond Child, who, like Aerosmith, when they wrote Dude Looks Like a Lady, I forgot what the original, it was something like Guy Looks Like a Lady or something like that. And he just went in and went, that's terrible, change it to Dude. And like in a second, he was able to recognize, you need to change this one word to make it a hit. So the guy's definitely got talent, but at the same time, a lot of people view it as someone that goes in and destroys their favorite band, you know, but theoretically their favorite band could just be running out of ideas. All right, so I'm down to number 4, which is Van Halen for Unlawful Carnal Knowledge. I love all eras of Van Halen, including Sammy Hagar. I know some people don't. I'm not going to go buy this on vinyl because it's absolutely positively going to be reissued one day. And right now, there's people on Discogs trying to sell the vinyl for like $900 to $1,000. Ever since Eddie Van Halen died, they have jacked the price up on this and balance through the roof. People are making money off Eddie Van Halen's death, which is really awful. But to me,
$900 album.
Yeah. Aaron's got a very expensive album. Now, to me, the reason why I love Van Hagar as much as David Lee Roth, and believe me, I understand the David Lee Roth era. That's what I grew up with. That's what I fell in love with. But when these albums came out, I was in high school. I was partying. I was at house parties. This is the type of stuff that they played, you know? And so to me, it just brings back all of that nostalgia. And the crazy thing is, at the same time, I would go home and listen to Slayer. I'd go home and listen to Testament and Anthrax and all these heavy bands. I was listening to Neil Young. I just always grew up listening to a lot of different types of music. And I didn't care that, man, there's so many people in my school that'd be like, Hagar sucks. Like, it was like, you know, someone had spit in David Lee Roth's face if you were wearing a Hagar shirt. You know, like they were like, they couldn't accept that you could like both. Well, I feel like you like both. And this is, to me, a great album. And one day I'm going to party with Aaron because he's got it. Okay. Now, my next two guys should not be difficult records to find, but they really are. And they're two of my favorite records of all time. And one of them is Tracy Chapman.
Great album.
It is a fantastic album. And if anyone out there is watching this and they haven't heard this album, go listen to it, go stream it. Everybody probably knows the song Fast Car, but the whole album is great. I can tell you that I used to own this on vinyl. I walked into a thrift store. It was 99 cents. When I sold my collection, I sold it. I regret it because now this is like a $70 to $100 record. And now I'm desperately trying to find it again. I still have dreams that I'm going to go into a thrift store and find it. What blows my mind, though, guys, and maybe you can help me understand this, why wouldn't something like this be on vinyl? Like, I feel like there has to be an audience for it. You know, I don't understand why they don't reissue it.
Maybe next record store day.
Yeah, they'll do 300 copies, and there'll be people fighting in the parking lot over it.
Yeah.
I've got that record actually too.
What's that?
I have that one.
Yeah, that doesn't shock me, Aaron.
I don't even like it that much, but I have it. I mean, it's all right. It's a good one, but it's just
You're gonna get
my wife likes it a lot.
Aaron, when I find new tattoo, I'll trade you for it.
No problem.
All right, we'll make the trade. My
Okay.
number 2 is also a record that should be easy to find, but it's not. And it's Heart-Shaped World by Chris Isaak. This is also another album that goes for about $100 right now, which I find insane. This is a fantastic album. He's got a great voice. Most people know that song Wicked Game, but there's not a bad song on this album. And the guy's got an absolutely incredible voice, and he's a great guitar player. So if that's the only song you know, go check out this one. Oh, another album I just don't understand why they just can't do a reissue. Doesn't make sense.
I like
All right,
those.
guys.
Yeah,
because I feel like Record Store Day comes around and there's always like a couple Grateful Dead releases, and I love the Grateful Dead, but it's like, dude, like re-release Tracy Chapman and Chris Isaak and some of this other stuff, you know?
I agree totally. you know. And the Grateful Dead releases aren't even that limited. They do like, once you start doing 4, 5, 6, 7,000 copies, it ceases to be a limited release, right? At that point, you know, and I don't get mad at the flippers because I do understand if theoretically a lot of us as record collectors flip at some point. Now, we don't stand in line at Record Store Day to buy a stack of records and flip them, but it's like Aaron with the Tracy Chapman, right? If that was an $800 record, Aaron might be sitting there going, well, I could sell Tracy Chapman and buy 15 other records that I'm going to listen to more. That essentially is flipping, right?
Yeah.
So you can't get angry with people for flipping. People flip sneakers, people flip action figures, they flip everything. We're just in that world. And the more people that are unemployed, the more flippers you're going to see, because this is a way that they can supplement some sort of income. So it's going to get tougher. But my only thought process is, you're right. If they're doing 8,000 releases of a Grateful Dead release on Record Store Day, which I love the Dead, just make that a regular release and give us 3,000 copies of Tracy Chapman.
Right.
And to any flipper out there, if you have Slave of the Grind, I couldn't get it.
He'll trade you a Tracy Chapman for it
Yes.
right now. I won't trade my Slave to the Grind for Tracy Chapman. I'm just going to let you know that.
I
love that record. All right. My number one has never been released on vinyl, but it is a great box set. And I only took out one of the cassettes, but it's going to be Aerosmith Pandoras Box. They do an incredible cover of Helter Skelter on this. So this has got live cuts, it's got rare tracks, B-sides, and a greatest hits. So if you're like a novice Aerosmith fan, you've got the hits rolled in. This is everything that they did in the 70s and early 80s before they signed with Geffen. So this would be right up to their first Geffen records with Done With Mirrors. So everything before that is on this. And it's even got some of the Joe Perry solo work. So it really is a great box set. It was never released on vinyl, but I would think that there would be a market for it. And if you guys just want to check out one song, go check out Helter Skelter. They do such a killer version of that. It's just Aerosmith in their drug-fueled 70s greatness. And that's my number one.
That's a great one. I used to have that too. And it had that booklet. It was really cool.
Oh, it's so cool. Yeah. So, I mean, if you see this in a thrift store, pick it up. It's totally worth it.
Very cool.
All right, guys, that's it.
Nice.
All right, Chris, you're up.
All right. Well, my first one, well, these are all albums or cassettes that I don't have on vinyl. And eventually I'll get most of these, I'm thinking. But some of these were only released on cassette, like this one. It's a band called Moxie Ferreira, and they're a Canadian band. The big album was Bargainville. But this was a self-release pre-Bargainville. This is a Canadian pressing on black on a black cassette. If you're going to check out a song by them, check out the song King of Spain. And they've got another beautiful song called the Gulf War Song. And basically they're like an alternative pop band, but they mix a lot of different styles. They have sort of a humor to their songs. They have great harmonies. You know, a little political edge to some of their stuff, but it's really good. This came out in 92, I want to say. So it's got that 90s sort of alternative sound, but with a Canadian twist. So really, really good stuff, Moxie Ferreira. I don't think they're around anymore, but if you're going to check out one of their albums, I would check out the album Bargainville. This was only released on cassette. Another cassette I really dig. This is Mojo Nixon and Skid Roper. The reason I'm showing this one, this has two songs that were only available on this cassette. I got into Mojo Nixon in the 90s. He had a hit with the song called Elvis Is Everywhere. But he's really just, you know, he mixes Americana, country, rock and roll, rockabilly, all different stuff. Skid Roper plays a lot of different instruments. You can see him there. He's got the washboard. There's a lot of humor in their songs. I know one of their songs on one of their albums was called Debbie Gibson is Pregnant with My Two-Headed Love Child. You know, he's got this humor and he's got a cool voice. Yeah, it's just Mojo Nixon is really kind of, you know, it's an acquired list taste, but I really dig his stuff. So this is his album. Oh, this is just self-titled Mojo Nixon and Skid Roper.
Mojo Nixon is awesome. Is he still tour or does he still record?
I think he does. I know that he did. He's done albums. He did an album with Jello Biafra from the Dead Kennedys. So
Awesome.
all over the place. I know the Dead Milkmen have referenced him in their song Punk Rock Girl. So he's sort of like you know, if you're in the in crowd, then you know who Mojo Nixon is, you know what I mean? But I think he might still be recording though.
Nice.
And Skid Roper has come out with some solo records as well. Well, you guys knew I'd be showing some SST, and I'm pretty proud of this cassette. This is by the Minutemen, and this is called My First Bells. It's got Raymond Pettibon artwork. This was only available on cassette. And on Discogs, this is I mean, it's a little pricey. I think this is around maybe like the $40 mark. This has previously released stuff on here. So you have stuff from their EPs, Paranoid Time, The Punchline. It's got stuff from What Makes a Man Start Fires. So really, really good stuff. The Minutemen were so unique, and they were a three-piece, but the sound they created was amazing. They mixed all different. They mixed punk and funk and country, 70s rock, everything else. You know, it was punk music, but so much more than punk music. And not a lot of people have listened to the Minutemen. I think their song Corona was in a commercial, though. I don't think it was a Corona commercial, but it was I think it's an instrumental called Corona, and it was in some commercial. You probably heard it. I'm drawing a blank, but yeah, this was a cassette only release on SST. My First Bells.
I think I saw a documentary on the Minutemen. I can't remember what streaming service I saw it on. Might have been YouTube, but it was great.
Yeah, you have Mike Watt on bass. You have D. Boone on guitar and vocals. D. Boone passed away before the Minutemen sort of became popular. But the Minutemen sort of changed into a band called Fire Hose. I always get Fire Hose and Firehouse confused, but the Minutemen morphed into a band called Fire Hose, where they sort of took the Minutemen sound and sort of streamlined it a little bit more. And they were signed, I believe Fire Hose got signed to Warner Brothers, I want to say. So I think that's where the Minutemen were headed with their original singer, D. Boone, but he passed away. And so it became Fire Hose. So I would suggest checking out the band Fire Hose. They're a really, really good band. Mike Watt on bass again. Like I said, it's like the Minutemen, but a little bit more streamlined. They have an album called Flying the Flannel. And Flannel, I mean, it came right out in the grunge era. Really, really killer stuff.
Cool.
Next, Josh showed SOD. I'm showing MOD.
Yes.
USA for MOD. I remember listening to this cassette so much as a kid because I was listening to a lot of us. I was listening to Metallica and Slayer and all that. And then my friend played me this, and it sounded kind of like Anthrax and Slayer, but there was humor. I'm like, what is this? And I guess, I don't know, would you dub this maybe hardcore maybe? Is that what we would say? I don't know. What would the term for this sort of music be?
Yeah, I mean, hardcore is probably the best representation, but it really, there was a lot of thrash elements in it. I mean, punk kind of evolved. A lot of the punk bands like DRI went to thrash, and that's kind of what this is.
But it's so politically incorrect now. But they've grown, you know, Bubble Butt. Here's some of the titles. Bubble Butt and, you know, Spandex Enormity. You know, just a lot of stuff that's Get a Real Job, Don't Feed the Bears, Ballad of Dio about Ronnie James Dio. I mean, there's a lot of humor on here, a lot of politically incorrect stuff. You've got Billy Milano on vocals. I don't know how the hell Billy Milano became a vocalist for these bands. Like, where did they dig this guy up from? I like Billy Milano. I don't know was he just friends with Anthrax or whatever with SOD, or how did he come into the
I think so. I read something about it. I know that Scott Ian, I forgot if he was like a bodyguard or something, but they were buddies. And Scott Ian produced that album.
Okay. This is one of my favorite albums though. I mean, it's just so killer. And there they are right there. This guy's wearing a Sam Hain t-shirt.
I love it.
Yeah.
Now, did you get into SOD too, or just MOD?
Well, I'm not going to say anything yet because that might be giving away some of my other
Okay.
show here. All right, so you guys know me from MOD to the Monkees.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. This album, Jeff, you can attest, changes. I don't know if you like changes. I love changes. Now, as you can see, by this point, there were only two Monkees. There was only Mickey Dolenz and Davy Jones by this point. I still love this record. I remember listening to this as a kid a lot. I want to get this on vinyl eventually. It's got the, I love the song "Oh My My." I love "Ticket on a Ferry Ride." I mean, the whole album is great. And and it's, people sort of laugh at it because they're like, "Oh, is the next Monkees record just going to be one guy?" Well, actually, kind of, yeah, because Michael Nesmith did some solo stuff. But this is a great album. And I don't know, Jeff, do you like this album?
Yeah, I do. Well, and it's surprising that I do because the two most musical Monkees, Peter and Mike, are not on that album. And Mike's songs by far are my favorite Monkey songs. But I think that, there's so much great material on there. Like you say, "Oh My My" is on there. There's a song called 99 Pounds that is such a heavy one. And Davey sings it, which is like totally out of left field because it's very out of character for him to sing a song that's heavy. I like "Ticket on a Ferry Ride," I think is really great.
Midnight Train's on here. That's really
Train good. Is fantastic. Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so those are those are the first five. So now I'm down to my top five here. This one's going to bring back memories, friends.
Yes.
The Attack. This is such a good album. Oh my God. It's got my favorite Dokken tune, Dream Warriors, on it.
Yeah.
I love that song. But this was a longer album, I want to say, than when this came out. I was like, wow, there's a lot of songs in there, and it's longer than the usual album. I don't know why that was. The only thing I can think of is maybe this was like the CD age, so they were trying to put more music on a CD. But this is, Dokken was like, this is like their Black album. This is like Dokken at their best.
Absolutely. That song "Mr. Scary" just kicks ass.
Yeah.
So
but just a great album.
They left the best song off it though.
What? Oh, they did? What song is that?
"Back for the Attack."
The Attack.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's
That was
on
an
the
excellent
single
condition.
for Dream Warriors.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I knew that, actually. Huh.
It's a great song.
Oh, shit.
Dude,
I never even heard that.
I actually just gifted that album VCLT to Craig. If I find another copy, I'll send it your way. I promise.
Actually, wait a second. I think I have the Dream Warriors EP. Yeah, Aaron, pull it out, because I think I'll pull mine out too. And I'm talking about my record. Yeah, I've got that, dude. I've got it.
Yeah, then you've got it. You've got the song.
I totally forgot I had that.
There you go. Over 60 minutes of music.
Oh, wait. No. I have the, no, I don't have vinyl of Back for the Attack. I got that.
There's the, let's see. There's the songs on it.
Okay, so I have heard it before.
Mm-hmm.
So Friday Music is going to reissue all the Dokken albums. And I'm hoping when they do that one, they put it on 2 LPs so we don't get the inner groove distortion. Because like Aaron said, it's 60 minutes on a vinyl. It's a lot. You get a lot of compression issues with the vinyl.
I love Burning Like a Flame too. That's such a great song. Yeah, but thank you for reminding me that I had that Dream Warriors EP. Now I'm going to listen to that song, Back for the Attack. Oh, it's still sealed. Nice. Well, Josh showed SOD. I'm showing SOD. Speak English or Die, another politically incorrect album. This album, though, when I was a kid, this was so heavy.
Amazing.
It's an amazing. It opens up with March of the SOD. It's just a mosh thrash. I would have loved to have seen these guys live. And that cover, I think this sold actually a lot of copies, I want to say. But on Megaforce, just a great album. The Ballad of Jimi Hendrix, I think the lyrics to that are just "He's dead."
Yes.
You have Pussy Whipped on here and just a lot of stuff you can't even say.
Chromatic Death is so
Freddy
good.
Krueger, yeah. All right, now I'm going to go with this album, Long Cold Winter, Cinderella. I love Cinderella, and I sort of kind of put them in the same category as Tesla. They're sort of lumped into that hair metal thing, but they were so much more. They were like a blues rock band, and the album Night Songs is amazing. The thing is, the cover of Night Songs, they're all glammed out. I mean, I think they look awesome on the front cover, but the music is just a blues rock album, and Long Cold Winter is more of that. This is just a great, great album. You've got Gypsy Road on here. Don't Know What You Got Till It's Gone, The Last Mile. They've got a great blues song called Long Cold Winter, the title track. Coming Home is on here. There were a lot of hits on here. I remember as a kid, I didn't like this album at first because it wasn't as in your face as Night Songs. It wasn't as heavy, but it's definitely aged well for me. So Cinderella, Night Songs.
I love it.
Yeah.
Great one.
It's a great record.
I like how they write their name too.
And you hit the nail on the head. It was a much more mature album, but it's fantastic.
Yeah. And then the album after this, Heartbreak Station, I want to say it's called. That was
great.
That was even more bluesy.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And then the album after that, Still Climbing.
Yep, Still Climbing.
That's really good too.
Cinderella. You find Still Climbing on vinyl. That's like an impossible feat. I don't even think it was released in the United States on vinyl.
Oh, really?
I have the first. Yeah.
Yeah, I have it on CD, but I'll get Long Cold Winter. All right, this is a band. I mean, here we go. The Butthole Surfers.
Yes.
This album, Rembrandt Pussy Horse, is so. I mean, the Butthole Surfers are like one of the craziest bands that I know of. I mean, they just were all over the place. They have some songs that you listen to and you're like, wait, what the hell is going on? But then they've got songs where you're like, oh my God, these guys are actually good musicians. This is a great album. I mean, anybody who's getting into the Butthole Surfers, I would say check this album out. I would also check out the album Hairway to Steven, which is Stairway to Heaven with the letters mixed up. And I mean, listen to the songs. Creep in the Cellar is great. They do a version of American Woman on here, the guest song. Moving to Florida is great. I mean, these guys are messed up, but it's really, really good stuff. And I remember as a kid, and Josh had mentioned this, I didn't have a lot of money to go buy stuff. So when I listened to a cassette, if I didn't like it at first, I would just keep listening to it because I didn't really have a choice. So this album really grew on me because I think the first time you put it on, you're like, what is going on? But it's one of those albums that it's going to take some repeat listenings, but it's so good. And I don't really hear the Butthole Surfers mentioned too much in the VC, but they've got some great stuff.
Didn't he the singer do a song with Ministry, Jesus Built My Hot Rod?
Yeah. I'm trying to remember his name.
Gibby Haynes.
Gibby Haynes, yeah.
Yeah.
The Butthole Surfers had a hit in the 90s.
Yeah.
Pepper.
Wormhole Saloon or something. Yeah, Pepper was on one of their albums.
Yeah.
That's when they changed their sound and they became commercial, but the early stuff is really good. They have an album called PO'd, which is so Butthole Surfers. So that was my number 2. I'm sorry, I haven't been telling you the numbers here. Number 1, this album, I remember buying the cassette and I did not take this out of my Walkman.
Yes.
Thrash Zone. This is so good. I saw DRI live, not on this tour, but small place near my house. They are such a great band, and this was the perfect combination of thrash and hardcore, and it was just so good. And every song is killer. The album flows so well. This is on Metal Blade Records. Cassie on guitar, Kirk Breck on vocals, and I remember reading the lyrics as a kid, looking at the T-shirts and stuff that I couldn't afford, and I just always loved their emblem.
Yeah.
But this was the peak of DRI, Thrash Zone. I mean, they've had other albums since then, like Full Speed Ahead is really good as well. They just came out with an EP a couple years ago, I want to say, but DRI is it. They definitely had a unique sound, and for anybody who was into thrash, you would love this album. I also love their album Four of a Kind. I like Dealing with It. Just you cannot go wrong with DRI.
Yeah, I agree. Dealing with It, Four of a Kind, Crossover, Thrash Zone. Those
Crossover,
records
yeah,
are just
yeah.
insane.
So, yeah, I mean, so that's my 10. I mean, I showed the Monkees and DRI and the Butthole Surfers and Moxie Ferreira and Mojo Nixon and whatever. There you go. So.
All right. Well, now I feel my collection is going to be lame as hell compared to the stuff.
Well, no, Jeff, I showed the Monkees changes, so.
You did, but you also showed a lot of other hardcore stuff that I cannot compete with. So
I showed Tracy Chapman. Come on, she's about as hardcore.
all right. Well,
as you get.
okay. Just no laughing. All right. So these are cassettes that I have an emotional connection with, and I've got a story behind each one, pretty much. So this is a cassette that I got, and mind you, I grew up listening to the Beatles, and all the music that I listened to early on were albums that were handed down to me, either from my dad or uncles or people who just didn't want the albums anymore, and they would give them to me. And so one of the first albums that I got, I used to listen to Foreigner, Journey, Boston, all that kind of stuff, like that 70s rock, Fleetwood Mac and all that. And so the first album, one of the first cassettes that I ever got was Bruce Springsteen, Born in the USA.
Fantastic album.
Great
album. Not exactly Stormtroopers of Death, but for me, I was like, oh, I thought I was so badass when I bought this, like it's heavy and, but I love this album. I mean, it's just Born in the USA is on here. Cover Me is a great track. And I love the songs that weren't played on the radio on here, like Working on the Highway is almost a rockabilly track, like on here. Darlington County is very cool. I'm Going Down, My Hometown, just a great album. And this is the original cassette that I had, and I still love it today. I've got it on vinyl and CD, but I just keep the cassette around because it's, that's when I first listened to it and fell in love with it. So when I was in high school, the first relationship that I was ever in, the girl broke up with me. And so I just got heavily depressed. And for about a week or two, like I would come home from school and just like go straight to bed. And I would listen to this cassette as I was just kind of like laying there feeling sorry for myself. It's got nothing to do with relationships or breakup, but it's Paul McCartney's Ram. And it was just because I was starting to get into the solo Beatles. I had all the Beatles records, but I didn't know that much about the life after the Beatles or any of the Beatles solo stuff. And this, for me, might be my favorite Paul McCartney solo album of all time. It's either this or Band on the Run. And I know a lot of people who think this is the best thing that he's ever done, but it's very unique. His first album was McCartney, and it was very much a rough demo. He recorded all the instruments himself. He did all the, he wrote everything, but he recorded it in a way that's just very much kind of a lo-fi. They sound like demos. They're not very overproduced. This sounds nothing like a lot of his Beatles stuff, with the exception of Maybe I'm Amazed. And so for this album, he brought a bunch of studio musicians. He went to New York. He had like the top session musicians playing on this. This has got Uncle Albert, Admiral Halsey is probably the song most people are familiar with. It's got Too Many People. The title track, Ram On, is great, but it's just a really great album. And not too many people who aren't Paul McCartney fans probably know a lot about it, but it's actually credited to Paul and Linda McCartney. But it is a great album, and I've been in love with it ever since.
I don't think I've ever heard that album all the way through.
Yeah, no, it's very good. It's got some weird moments on it, but it's very diverse stylistically. And it just sounds a certain way. It sounds like no other album or any other song that Paul McCartney's ever put out, but definitely a great one. And then I got into the Monkees real heavily in the mid 80s. And another band that I got into because I was into the Beatles, I was into the Monkees, I was kind of into the Rolling Stones, but a band that not too many people talk about, but very much stylistically is close to some of the early monkey stuff is the Hollies. And the Hollies have some of the greatest 60s singles I think that you will come across. There's Carrie Ann, which is great, Bus Stop, Look Through Any Window, sounds like the early Beatles, Stop, 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 just some great 60s pop on here. I don't know if anybody else is familiar with the Hollies or if...
Well, I was going to say, didn't SOD cover a Hollies song?
Could be.
We've done it live at the Hollywood
wouldn't
Bowl
know.
album.
No, I like the Hollies a lot.
I do
Yeah.
too.
Carrie Ann's a great song.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, there's so many great, On a Carousel is fantastic. Some real psychedelic stuff before Graham Nash left the band, but love that one. So when I was right into the Monkees, it was like, oh, the Hollies are great too. And that was a cassette I had. It has all their best hits on it. And so I was really, I was totally into classic rock. I wasn't into anything really outside of the classic rock genre. And my uncle gave me a couple of cassettes by this band, and they're also a band that is an acronym, but it's not SOD or MOD or any of the other.
DRI.
DRI.
That's a great album.
Yeah, so this was probably like, I don't know, 86 or 87. I think it was 86 when he gave this, Murmur, Life's Rich Pageant, and Reconstruction of the Fables. But this was the one that stood out for me. This is so much, if you like the jangly Beatles, If I Needed Someone, kind of like the stuff off Yesterday and Today. If you like the early Byrds, when they were still a 5-piece unit, before they got into country rock. And it's just my first taste of anything that was considered alternative. But I've been an REM fan ever since. But this is just fantastic. This has Harbor Coat on it, Seven Chinese Brothers, South Central Rain, Don't Go Back to Rockville is on here. It's just a fantastic cassette. I love the hell out of this one.
It's on the
Jeff, I
IRS
kind of
label,
feel-
which is awesome.
What'd you say?
It's on the IRS label, which is
Yeah, it's on IRS. Yep. And they always had, like, they would always label their sides. It used to just always be, oh, well, side 1 or side 2. And with each album, they had a different way of labeling each side. Like this one, there is the left side and then the right side. So side 1 is the left side, side 2 is the right side, and just like, one album might be this side and then the other side is the other side or whatever. But it's just like stuff like that. Anybody who's a Talking Heads fan, the artist who designed this cover is the same one who designed the Little Creatures album for Talking Heads. Just a bit of trivia there.
Jeff, I feel like those first 2 REM albums are just, there's not a bad song. Like I've been listening to REM all week because me and Jeff are going to do a video soon. And they're just not a bad song. It's so hard to narrow down what my favorite REM songs are.
Yeah, those 2 they're just classics, and I love it. They don't sound a lot like what REM would eventually become. So it's a bit of a shock for anybody who's used to, the REM of Document, Green, or Out of Time, or Automatic for the People. But it's definitely, very raw, and you can tell what their early influences was. So this is an album that I got in high school, and there's a story behind this one because I used to work at Taco Bell, and we had a Christmas party one year, and there was a Secret Santa drawing, and so you had to buy a present for somebody, and they didn't know who it was from, and you didn't really know a lot about the person because they were just other people that you worked with. And so it was a party. The Christmas party was at this just grungy, like just shithole apartment. And I went in there. I mean, they were doing like lines of cocaine in the bathroom. And I'm like a senior in high school, and I'm like freaking out, like, oh my God, what the hell? But anyway, so the Secret Santa gift that I got was Def Leppard's Hysteria. And at the time,
All right, wait a second. There's a lot of details in the story that I'm trying to comprehend. I'm hearing Taco Bell,
Cocaine.
and cocaine, Secret Santa, and now you're whipping out Def Leppard hysteria. Like, dude, you're messing with my mind right now.
I know it's a lot to unpack.
Yeah.
A lot at you.
Whew.
But yeah,
Wow.
and I was like, Def Leppard, like opening, I can't believe it. But I don't know. It's like it's grown on me over the years, and I don't know.
Every song is great on that album.
Yeah, there still might be some cocaine dust on the here. I don't know.
Either that or some Taco Bell.
Yeah, well, because I was a senior in high school, and you walk in, it's like, oh my God, what are they snorting off the table over there? It's like, dude, that's cool.
That's crazy, man. Nobody in high school I knew was doing
cocaine.
I
got to get out. Well, because the manager was in her 30s probably, and
okay.
she had some shady characters over, but that's like an entirely another story. But that's the one thing I remember about getting this at that party, being like, oh my God, give me my Def Leppard cassette and get me the hell out of here. But so that's the only Def Leppard that I own. But
You got to get High and Dry next, man.
Yeah.
High and Dry, Pyromania,
On Through the Night. Yeah,
those are good ones.
Yeah, no, Pyromania. I grew up watching those videos on MTV, but Hysteria, when it came out, I hadn't heard too much about it. That was right when it came out, because that was the Christmas of '87. But anyway, and then this is
Christmas.
and then this was a band that I hadn't heard a single song off here when I bought it, and I don't know if my uncle or somebody had recommended this to me, and I don't know if you guys have ever heard of this band. I think they're from New York or New Jersey. The Smithereens.
Oh yeah, man.
Okay. Yeah, this is the glare is not showing the cassette too well, but this is their first album, Especially for You. And I've seen them twice live, but they are a band. They're very retro in their sound on here. They sound a lot like the early Beatles. They sound, their influences are very much 60s psychedelic rock. And there's a song on here, Behind the Wall of Sleep, which I think they had a video for MTV on here. They do a duet with Suzanne Vega. Pat Denizio was their lead singer. He did a duet with Suzanne Vega. He passed away a few years ago, but he's got an incredible voice, and they are such a tight little, definitely 60s retro, but if you like the Beatles, you like 60s rock and roll, Monkeys, whatever, it's definitely a cool cassette to check out. And then, so I got very much from classic rock. I got totally into new wave. I was into new wave. I got into the Smiths, New Order, Depeche Mode. So I was totally in that vein. And then I went away to college, and none of my roommates listened to any of that. They were totally back into like hard rock. And this was my first taste of anything harder than Boston or Foreigner. And I heard this album. They had all this band's albums on cassette. And this was the first one that I actually bought myself. And then I got totally heavy into this band, but it's Led Zeppelin, the first Led Zeppelin album. And I bought all their stuff on cassette in very short order. I think in the space of like 3 months, I bought their entire catalog on cassette. But this one for me is just such a great album. And it's weird because the sides on here, side 2 on the vinyl is actually side 1 on the cassette. So it starts off with Your Time Is Gonna Come, and then into Black Mountain Side and Communication Breakdown. Whereas on the album, it starts off with Good Times, Bad Times, Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You, You Shook Me, and then Dazed and Confused. But solid, this is my first taste of Led Zeppelin, and never looked back. I've been a huge Zeppelin fan ever since, but always loved the album cover and everything about it. I'm a huge fan of. And then also in college, my first taste outside of the few songs that I heard on the radio was Rush. This is Permanent Waves, which is my favorite Rush album, but it's got the great songs Spirit of the Radio, Free Will, Jacob's Ladder on here. It kind of bridges, they went from progressive rock into full, 80s tight hard rock, which you had with Moving Pictures, which was the next album that they released. But all my roommates had Rush on cassette also, and that's when I got deeper into their catalog and really started buying up Rush in a big way. And then I had kind of a passing interest in the Beach Boys, but I don't know, the Beatles and the Monkees were my big thing. And the first time I'd ever heard of the Beach Boys was when my uncle gave me this cassette to listen to, and it was Pet Sounds. The first time I ever heard it was on cassette, and it blew me away because it didn't sound anything like I'd heard of the Beach Boys up to this point. I'd heard, Fun, 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 I Get Around, Little Deuce Coupe, Surfing Safari, all those kind of hits. And I'd heard You Wouldn't It Be Nice, but the rest of the songs on this album just totally blew me away because it's totally unlike anything the Beach Boys had ever done up to this point. It still sounds different than anything else in their discography. And there's a reason why so many people regard this as one of the best albums of all time, because it is just gorgeous. And I first heard it on cassette and then got it on CD. And then actually I got a couple of vinyl copies of it. But I love that album to death. And then,
Can I just say one thing about the Beach Boys?
yeah.
And it's a shame because a lot of people stop at Pet Sounds, but there's so many things post Pet Sounds. I mean, Wild Honey is a killer record. Sunflower, 2020, Love You. They had so many great records after that.
Yeah, no, they really.
What did you say, Aaron?
Smiley Smile is my favorite Beach Boys.
Smiley Smile is a great album, yeah.
Yeah, and it's so different from Pet Sounds too. And it was the album that followed immediately after. I mean, there's an entire, you could write a book about all the things that happened between Pet Sounds and Smiley Smile. But Smiley Smile is such an entertaining album, and it's almost like their We Don't Give a Shit album. We're gonna record what we want to record, and they just have fun. I mean, they break up laughing, before one of the tracks, and it's just such a bizarre album. She's Going Bald is just so bizarre. I mean, there's so many tracks on there. You're just scratching your head like, what in the hell? Like, what were they doing when they recorded this album? But yeah, it's great. It's a lot of fun to listen to that one. Absolutely.
It's even Pink Floydish at times.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is Cabin Fever on that album, or is that on
Cabin Essence?
Cabin Essence, I mean? Yeah.
That is on, that actually, it was part of the Smile Sessions, but they released it on the 2020 album.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. And then the last album I have, just because, I knew I can't stand toe-to-toe with any of you when it comes to hard rock or heavy metal. I mean, I don't have near the arsenal that you guys do when it comes to that. And not to say I don't appreciate any of it, but, this is an album. So I've got a friend in Canada who has appeared on my channel, and I've appeared on his channel a couple times. His name is Tim Durling, and he's got a channel called Tim's Vinyl Confessions, and he lives on Prince Edward Island in Canada. And one of his favorite bands is Y&T.
Nice.
Huge Y&T fan. And so I won a contest. He had like a 200th episode contest, and I won the gift package. And one of the things that I got was this Y&T album, In Rock We Trust. And I got Down with the Count was the other one that I got. But Y&T is a great band. I really hadn't listened to them that much. I think I'd seen one video like Summer Girl on MTV or whatever. Yeah. But, they're actually really solid, and they're not together anymore. But, anyway, this is a Canadian version of it, which is a black cassette because he's from Canada. But anyway, that's the heaviest one that I've got to show, unless you count Hysteria, because, Def Leppard's heavy metal.
Right.
Too. So
a year from now, after hanging out with us for a year, you're going to be like into all these different metal bands. You'll be rocking a Megadeth t-shirt.
Well, I'm in
ranking what your favorite
already,
riff
right,
is by Dave Mustaine.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because I told Jeff was asking which Priest albums to get. I told him Stained Class and
Sin After Sin.
Did you get Sin After Sin?
That's what I'd say.
Dude, Sin After Sin, and even the song Last Rose of Summer on that album. Oh, it's so killer. And Dissident Aggressor, Slayer covered Dissident Aggressor. That song is so heavy.
So I'm trying, I'm trying to get a little cooler. I'm trying to, like, the heaviest I get into is like, Black Sabbath, Deep Purple, Led Zeppelin, and you guys are all, making me look like I'm, 70 instead of 50, but.
Yeah, but Jeff.
Dude, Black Sabbath is one of the heaviest bands of all time. I don't care what you say, like they're very, very heavy. So
Deep Purple too.
Yeah. And Jeff, like I have 2 Thompson Twins records, and I just listened to Tom Jones today.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know. So it's all about what you like. It doesn't really who it is. It's just if you're passionate about it. So, but I smell some VCLT coming your way. I think you need some metal in your collection.
Yeah, I agree. I actually need both your addresses.
I need a music makeover, I think,
Yeah.
I can help with that a little.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I gotta get cooler, but yeah.
So do you have any metal? Do you have any metal besides like Sabbath?
Well, apart from the 2 Judas Priest that I just bought, I mean, I'm into Van Halen. I'm into, like I said, Deep Purple. But like in terms of metal, I mean,
you have like nothing like Metallica, no Megadeth, no Slayer.
No, I've got the Black album. I've got Metallica's Black album. Not anything that you guys would laugh if I were to say, well, this is in my metal collection. I've got.
But is that something you want to listen to though? Is it like, would you want to listen to Megadeth or something like that? Or,
I might.
Yeah.
I like the Judas Priest stuff that I've listened to. So like I'm into Ozzy, I've got like some Ozzy stuff.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if that's heavy metal, but, I'm just kind of dipping my toe in at this point because it's, and I see everybody's like Iron Maiden and I'm like, God, how did I miss all that stuff growing up? I feel like I led such a sheltered musical.
Well, that's what I'm thinking with you. I think dipping your toe in the water is starting with like the 70s metal. So I think it's to start with the Sabbath. You probably need some Scorpions in there.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
Yeah, some early White Snake.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Metal, but they're a little bit heavier.
Yeah,
White Snake, early White
Snake
is kind of like that. Yeah, I mean, it's very much Deep Purple-esque. Before you get to slide it in, those early Whitesnake albums are just blues rock albums.
Yeah,
and I love the 70s Scorpion stuff. I think I like it even the 80s stuff.
Except for some of the album covers.
Virgin Killer, you mean?
Yeah, we could live without the album cover the rest of my life.
What's the one with his hands on the girl's boob?
Yeah, that was not as bad. But the Virgin Killer needs to be destroyed. I'm like, whoever thought of that was just an asshole.
How they ever got away with that, I have no idea.
Yeah.
That is.
Oh, so this will be our next video.
Oh, I got
Nate in his collection.
Kiss. Yeah. I have a lot of Kiss also on CD.
All right.
If you can
love it.
Metal, but yeah.
Hey, my brother showed a picture of me the other day, and it was probably 1988. So this is at the height of like I had very long hair, into thrash metal, and I'm wearing a Chicago t-shirt, like the band Chicago.
Oh,
and my brother's like, even then you like diverse music. Like, yeah.
Well,
that's the thing. I mean, you're not going to get up in the morning and throw Slayer South of Heaven on. At least I'm not.
Exactly.
Aaron might, but
Aaron,
I like other stuff too, though. I like a lot of it.
Sweet FA.
Chicago's first album. I mean, Chicago's first album is so heavy. People forget because they're so used to, all their syrupy stuff from the late 70s and early 80s. But, when Terry Kath was in the band, that first album, he was such a great guitarist. And Jimi Hendrix called him his favorite. He said, Terry Kath's a better guitarist than I am. But he
said that about Billy Gibbons too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but Terry Kath most definitely, he shreds on that for the first couple of Chicago albums. He's a great guitarist, anyway, but Well, yeah, so we got through our cassette collection, and we know who's the dork of all dorks in our cassette collections, but nonetheless, we were all joking kind of before we started rolling tape today that, God, are we so out of touch? Are we really kind of all dorks because we still have a big cassette collection? How many of you have a cassette player? All have cassette players? Okay, all right.
I have one right. Yeah, I have one right now too.
Okay.
Yeah, I listen to cassettes all the time.
Okay. So yeah, so we're wondering how many of you out there, if you want to comment in the comment section, if you own cassettes, if you listen to cassettes, we'd love to hear from you. We want to get some love from the rest of the cassette community. But thank you guys for sharing your cassette collections and allowing us to geek out. We like to do, because it's not often I get to pull out my cassettes. I'm sure it's the same with you guys, but thanks all for joining in. And again, we got JC from Flipside Vinyl, we got Chris Propfe from Chris Propfe Musically Obsessed, and then we have Aaron Mutha Alamare. So make sure, like always, you check out their channels. And thanks so much, everybody.